So we are here in the Mamar Lech Lecha, Tavshin Beis. Lech Lecha. Here is the Mamar of the Frierdiker Rebbe, 1942. It's found in the Sefer HaMaimarim Tavshin Beis on page. We're holding now on page 89. Well, we turned the page already. We're on page 90. And here in the booklet, it's page 4. And in this ice, he's talking about, after he explained that there are two parts to the neshama. There's the part of the neshama that remains in Shemayim, which we explained to mean it maintains its original spiritual ability and capacity. It sees and hears, experiences pure godliness, pure spirituality. And the other part of the neshama is the part that comes down to this world, and the part that gets invested into a physical body. And as a result of that, it doesn't have that capacity anymore. It sees everything the way we see it, physical, material. You have to struggle to recognize something higher. But he explained that these two parts of the neshama, good morning, need to be connected. And that's what davening is about. So in this ois, he explained that davening is compared to a ladder. In the pasuk, it says in Yaakov's dream that the ladder was standing on the ground, but the other end reached into Shemayim. So that represents, first of all, the neshama. And there's one part of the neshama that's in Shemayim, one part of the neshama that's on the ground. And the ladder also represents davening. And the four rungs in the ladder are the four levels of davening. And each part of the davening, we're ascending, going up to a higher level. So all in all, this means that the union of davening is to connect, to reinforce and strengthen the connection between the neshama down here and the neshama up there. Then in the middle, he explained, this is the part where we're up to, that Eretz is called the land of life, Eretz HaChaim, Chai. And the reason for that is because, not to make it too complicated, that in the world of Tohu, there was Shviras HaKelim, which is the opposite of life. But the Shviras HaKelim was where there is emotion. In the realm of intellect, Chochmah, Bina, and Das, there was no Shviras HaKelim. By the way, the simple way of understanding it is, when is there a situation where two people are so at odds with each other that it turns to sort of something gets broken? It's destructive. That's basically when the two people are in conflict with each other, but on an emotional level. There's anger, there's hate, there's fighting. If it's just intellectual, if I have my opinion, you have your opinion, it doesn't move me to be sort of hating the other person and being angry at the other person. I'm not getting all worked up. It's just in my head. So in the level of intellect, there is no breaking. The breaking is on the level of emotion. And therefore, Chochmah is called Chayim. Chochmah is place where there's life, they don't have the opposite of life. And Eretz Yisrael is also called Eretz HaChaim because Eretz Yisrael, good morning, is a vessel for the sphere of Chochmah to shine there. And the same is, there's another opinion that's referring to the soul of Adam Harishon. So we're at this part of the Maimer, this is on page 90, where the line that begins with the words Harishon. So it's 2, 4, 6 lines from the top. Our sages said, Hamish Hashemus Nikrula, the soul has 5 names. The five names are Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. Yesterday we pointed out in the booklet here, on page 39, I think it was. No. 49. Almost. 10 degrees off. Okay. 5 names. Now, these 5 names are not just 5 names, but they're really 5 levels. There's 5 layers of depth in the neshama. That's why when, God forbid, someone passes away and you light candles because the candle represents the neshama, you'll notice that you should never have to go to such a place, but where people are sitting shiva, they light 5 candles. Also in the yard sites. In the shul, not at home, but in the shul, they light 5 candles. Why? Because the neshama has 5 names. But the reason why there are 5 names is because there are 5 layers of depth to the soul, and each layer has another name. And on the chart that we have here on page 49, we see Nefesh is the lowest, meaning the most external, and Yechida is the highest. Another way of looking at this is that, maybe you can make that in your notes, that Nefesh, where it says here in terms of spheres, that corresponds to Malchus. Ruach corresponds to Zoh. The third layer, Neshama, is Bina. The fourth layer, Chaya, is Chochmah. And the fifth is Yechida. If we translate that in practical terms, we'll put it this way. Nefesh, Malchus, is basically speech and action. That's the most external expression of the soul. Ruach are the emotions. That's a deeper expression of the soul. Neshama is Bina. That's really in the world of intellect. Chaya is Chachma, which is even deeper. And Yechida, that's the part of the soul, which is the essence of the soul, the part of the soul that's its connection to Hashem is unconditional and infinite. So that's the 5th level, and that corresponds to Kesef. Just like with Hashem, Chachma, Bina, Zoh, Malchus, these are spheres, and they're so to speak, limited, maybe in a different way than we know, but in their way they're limited. But Keser, which is Ein Sof, that's infinite, it's not limited. What does it mean that one corresponds to Aliyah, Navi, Moshe Rabbeinu, Adam Rishon? It means like this. Just like every neshama, every one of us individually has these 5 layers, we know that Klal Yisrael, the whole Jewish nation as a whole, are all one big neshama, which means collectively we're all one soul. And that's how the Alter Rebbe also explained the Avos Yisrael. We're all one. So just like there's one soul, just like a human being, there's one soul, but nevertheless there are different parts of the soul. There's intellect, there's emotion, there are different organs, there are different faculties. Same thing with Yidden. There were those tzaddikim that they were more the brains of Yidden, and those that were more the hearts of Yidden. Those are the hands, and those that are the feet, and those that are the mouth. Each generation and each Yid has their function and their place. But basically, even though we understand that over the years and over the generations, there have been probably billions of Yidden altogether, but all the billions of Yidden constitute one single soul. That single soul also has 5 layers. And that's what it says here. That the Yechida of the collective soul of Yidden, by the way, this is the Rebbe's explanation. What does he mean when he said that we've already done tshuva? And people ask, but first of all, I know myself I didn't do tshuva. And there are other people that are still far from tshuva. How can we say we've already done tshuva complete? And the Rebbe's answer is we're talking about the collective Klal Yisrael. If you take in consideration everything that happened from the beginning of time until now, we've already completed our Avodah, and we reached the point that we're supposed to reach. So, Mashiach is the Yechida of the collective soul of Yidden. Adam Rishon is the Chaya of the collective soul of Yidden. Thank you. Moshe Rabbeinu is the neshama of the collective soul unity. Eliyahu Navi is the ruach, and David HaMelech is the nefesh. Where do the other tzaddikim fit in? I can't reveal everything, as you know, but they're somewhere in there. This is what we know. What we don't, we don't know, we don't know. Probably it's written somewhere in Kabbalah, but that's what it means. Yeah.
Is this from the Zohar?
This one is yeah. Or maybe the Arizal more. Could be the Arizal.
Water.
What?
One for each part of the soul.
This is nefesh. We're not on the level yet that the Chaya and Yechid is so revealed. So we just like numbers, we all kind of shit. And by the way, don't bring in the 10 faculties. Okay. Kosov, as it's written, Nishmas Shindalit Tavinim, the soul of Hashem gives them wisdom, but the word is Tavinim, was Bina, so we see that Neshama is connected to Bina. Chaya is Bechinas Chochmah. The level which is called Chaya, that corresponds to the spirit of Chochmah. The Nishmas Mashiach, he Bechinas Yechida, to Bechinas Kesed. So, as Haaretz, he mekabels on Primus Chochmah. When the Gemara said before that when it says the land should produce Nefesh Chaya, it means the land because the land has in it, and what shines on the land of Eretz Yisrael is Chochmah. And that's why Adam Rishon's neshama, which we said before, his neshama corresponds to Chaya. That has to come from the Oretz because Adam Rishon is the Chochmah. He's the level of Chaya, which is Chochmah of the general neshama, and that comes from the Oretz, which is also Chochmah. Ach mikol mokim tzarich l'mashach adei Oretz shebchinas malchus. Chen kol nefashos nimshachas adei malchus. Okay, so what he's saying here is a little bit different, and that is that, and number one, it says nefesh is malchus, but Adam Rishon is not malchus; he's chaya, he's chochmah. But he's saying that everything in the world has to be drawn into the world through the sphere of malchus, because malchus, just like with us, the Gashmias, we have different aspects of the soul. But the only way of making things happen outside of myself is either through speech or through action. Everything else, thought and intellect and emotion, that's all these things are what I'm experiencing internally. In order to make things happen outside, it has to go through speech and action. That's malchus, same thing in the spheres. So we need kamesham shochas hanevesh v'mayla nimshach adei haaretz. So it's not a contradiction. Like if you learn in Tanya and you ask the question, so where does the neshama come from? Which sphere? The second chapter of Tanya, right in the beginning, it says that the neshama comes from Hashem's wisdom. Good morning, right? Chochmah. Then in other places, like here and many other places, it says the neshama comes from Malchus, and that's why every yid is called is royalty. Every yid is called either children of kings or princes, these kind of terms. But Hashem gave the Torah, referred to us as a nation of kings, of royalty. So are we Malchus or are we Chochmah? Or Malchus of Chochmah. It means, it's like asking you a question. If somebody says that your grandfather was Mr. So-and-so, and your great-great-grandfather was Mr. So-and-so, it's not a contradiction. 3 generations ago, my origin was this person. 10 generations ago, my origin was a different person. If someone says that I'm a descendant of Rashi, I'm also a descendant of David HaMelech, it's not a contradiction. Rashi was a descendant of David HaMelech. Depends how far back you go. So it depends how far back we go. The direct source of the soul is Malchus. But going back further, it's Chachma. So the earth represents Malchus. So let's go back. Start with the line that begins with the word V'hine. V'hine, Meisham Shochet HaNefesh V'Mayla. Just like for the neshama to come down from high up, has to come down through Oretz, through Malchus. K'moikein is saying Bechinas Halos HaNefesh. It's Chabrus Solomata L'mayli Gamkin Hadei Oretz Davkin. Why? Hido Hikarov Allah. The Zohar says Malchus is the door to which you can go up. So a door in a house has two purposes. I can't get out of the house unless I open the door. And I can't get into the house unless I open the door. So a house or a gate, there's two purposes. Through this gate you go in, and through this gate you go out. Same thing is with Malchus. Through Malchus the neshama comes down, and through Malchus the neshama is able to go up. So by the way, this is also one of the explanations why there are certain things in Torah that are specifically connected to the door. A mezuzah has to be put by the door post. Hanukkah menorah has to be done by the door post. There's a halacha about a slave who wants to be a slave longer than he should, so he has to allow himself to make a certain hole in his ear, and that is done by the door. What's this thing with the door? Everything down here is connected to a sphere up there. The door is connected to Malchus, the sphere of Malchus. Because the door is the way that you go in outside of the room and the way things from the outside can come in. So by us, for example, the same is with speech and action. Speech is how I can express things that I'm experiencing inside to someone outside. Through action also. If I have a certain feeling about something, the only way it could change something outside is through action. I do something. I give someone tzedakah. I give someone a meal. I help a person one way or another. I build something. Whatever I'm doing, it comes from inside, but through speech and action, it's able to go out there. So basically, Aidei ha'aretz, through the aretz, kol hamshachas, everything has to be drawn down. L'chol halos, everything has to go up. Mamar Lech Lecha, it's all through the door, through the gate, and that gate is Malchus. So, Mashikosav Lech Lecha, going back to the pasuk where it says Lech Lecha, that we should connect the neshama down here with the neshama up there. The neshama up there should sort of flow down here, and the neshama from down there should climb up there. The neshama to connect from down here to connect up there. And the reason is because the earth down here is muchuvenes. It corresponds to, and it's sort of a reflection of Oretz Shalamayla, the Oretz up there, which is Malchus. But now he's going to explain after this, what does it mean practically speaking?
So artist is Malchus?
Yeah. It's Malchus, but Chachma shines into Malchus, but basically it's Malchus. Again, I want to add something practical. Based on this, the davening is a whole different davening. Like sometimes people question themselves when you say words in davening. I'm saying words. Why do I feel that way? Hashem, my heart is so excited about you, so happy about you, and I have total confidence in you. Do I really feel that way? Or many other psukim that describe, these are really words of David HaMelech. David HaMelech was saying he feels this, he feels that, his soul is expiring, he's yearning, he loves Hashem. All these words, when we say them, we stop and think, am I really being truthful? I'm just repeating someone else's word. And the answer is, once we understand that there are two parts to my neshama, there's the external part and there's the internal part, the part that's in Shemayim. So the answer is, even though the part that I'm conscious of doesn't feel those things, but the deeper part does feel everything that I say. And everything that I say is absolutely emes. So therefore, being that in reality, that's what my neshama really feels. And verbally, I say those words, so it is definitely emes. Yeah.
What's the name of the part that is in Shemayim?
Either it's called the head of the neshama, Rosh, and this part is called the Regel, or we refer to it as the Etzem neshama, the essence of the neshama, and this is the manifestation of neshama, the Ha'ara. Those two terms that we had on the list. But if everything's said and done, the more connected the inside and the outside are, the more emes it would be. True? And again, not only is this some sort of a Kabbalistic concept, one of the most incredible things about this, that this has ramifications in halacha. First of all, this itself, that I'm davening, I'm saying words, and I really don't feel that way. Why is it okay to say it? And this is one answer, is because deep down, whatever comes out of my mouth is emes. But there's another halacha which comes up very often, that I've repeated it many, many times, is this is the halacha, and everyone knows the halacha, but the Rambam is one who explains the halacha. And the halacha is that if a person is obligated to do something according to Torah, and he doesn't want to do it, there's certain situations where the Bezdin is supposed to force him to do it. And one of the examples are, if a man is obligated to divorce his wife for whatever reason, and he doesn't want to, the Bezdin could force him. But the problem is, a divorce that's given against someone's will is not valid. He has to really want. What do? They force him until he says the word, I want to do. And the question is, but that's not real. He's lying. And the proof is, if you stop applying the pressure, whatever that pressure is, he'll say, I don't want to do it. So why is it okay according to Torah? Torah is emes. So the Rambam writes, because every Jew deep in his heart wants to do what the Torah says. So when he says these words, I want to, it's emes. The most incredible thing about this is that this is Rambam, this is halacha. It doesn't talk about layers of the soul. And actually, it's very interesting that there are a number of things in the Rambam that are totally consistent with what it says in Chassidus, and no one else says those things. Which, by the way, is one of the indications that the Rambam, even though he never mentioned a word of Kabbalah mysticism, but yet it is a tradition among the rabbis of Chabad that the Rambam was a giant in Kabbalah, but in his generation, it was dangerous to reveal any Kabbalah. And that's why he didn't mention a word. But he himself had that knowledge. In fact, there are many parts in the Rambam where he gives quotes from our sages, and no one knows where the quote is. There's only one place where that quote can be found, in the Zohar. But he never mentioned the word Zohar. So anyway, this is a deeper understanding. Of course, we want to have it not just because that part, I wanted to feel consciously, so that's what davening is all about, trying to tighten the gap, that the neshama up there and the neshama down here are closer and more connected with each other. There's a very beautiful explanation about the muscle of the rope. Remember we learned before about the rope? We said that the neshama l'mayla is one end of the rope, and the neshama down here is another end of the rope. The Alter Rebbe in Tanya, when he talks about tshuva, he says that when a person, one of the ways of doing tshuva is that if I've been doing something before in a certain way, now I do more. Let's say a person was used to learning one page of Gemara every day, Now that I want to do tshuva, I'm going to learn 2 pages of Gemara every day. And he gives a mushal. It's like a rope that was cut off. So you tie a knot, or sometimes you tie 2 knots to make it stronger. I don't know where the source of this is, if it's in a sikh or just someone else that says, when you tie a knot or 2 knots, guess what else happens? The 2 ends of the rope become closer. They're not as far anymore. So that's our goal, to make more of a connection between the higher end of the rope and the lower end of the rope. The essence of the neshama and the lower part of the neshama. Let me add one more thing, which is essential, and will help maybe understand many other things before we go into the next place. And that is, just like we said here, that other Mauritian, Mashiach, David HaMelech, and these tzaddikim, they were the essence of the collective soul of the generation. The truth is, in every generation, that's all the Jews of all generations. But in every generation, there are X amount of Yidden. Let's say today we know there are 15 million, 16 million Yidden. So there are 16 million neshamas. There's also one neshama that is the collective neshama of all these neshamas. Which means, in a sense, that's the essence of all the neshamas, and all the other neshamas are manifestations of that soul. Remember, we told the story. We can't tell it enough time, but this story brings it out in a very clear way. How Rabbi Majeski was teaching the students, and he saw that they were not fully alert, so he wanted to wake them up by saying something which is sort of a riddle or humorous, and he said to them that the Jewish women in Mitzrayim gave birth to 6 babies at once, but there was one woman, she gave birth to 600,000 babies at once. And that woke everybody up. And he asked, and so he said, who is that person? Who's that woman? Nobody knew the answer. And the answer was Yocheved, because she gave birth to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he was equivalent to, don't get scared. Yeah, she gave birth to 600,000 people because Moshe was equivalent to 600,000. When you read this in the Medrash, how do we understand it? That Moshe Rabbeinu was so great, quality-wise, he was so great that he was equivalent to 600,000 people. But in Chassidus, it explains it even deeper. Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama included in it all the neshamas of the entire generation. And all the neshamas of the generation, it's like saying that the sun is shining, and it shines in hundreds of thousands and millions of homes, but it's all coming from one source. There's the sun shining, and in every home there's sunlight. Same thing also with the neshama. There's one neshama in each generation, that the light of that neshama shines into every yid, and that's the individual neshama that we have. Is this clear? Got it. That is what, just like the sun shines, and its light shines in all the different homes. So every home has sunlight, but it's coming from the sun. Every one of us has an individual neshama, but our neshama comes from the essence of a collective neshama. And that collective neshama, where is it found? It's found in the body of the leader of the generation. So what we are trying to accomplish is that the part of my neshama which is I'm conscious of, and the part of my neshama which is higher, how do we connect that? One of the ways of making that connection is by connecting to the essence of the neshama of that generation. Connection to the other. There was once a story with a chassid that came to the Tzemach Tzedek, and he said, Rebbe, what do I do? I feel that I'm lacking belief in Hashem. I'm having doubts. The Rebbe said to him, why? Do you believe that? Because that's I never saw him. How can I believe in him? The Tzemach Tzedek said, did you ever see the Tsar? No. Do you believe that the Tsar is there? Yes. So why do you believe that? He said, okay, I didn't see him, but other people saw him. My brother saw the Zohar. So I know. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, okay, you can trust me, I saw him. On the simple level, it sounds like Tzemach Tzedek saying, just trust me. On a deeper level, it basically means that because the Rebbe has that Amunah, by connecting to the Rebbe's Amunah will be projected and flow to the neshama of each individual. But it's based on the connection. The stronger the connection, the more we'll be able to benefit from that. Okay, let's go over the questions on this chapter. Let's go back to the workbook before we start the next one.
Sorry, Rabbi Majeski.
Yes.
We connect to the Sadis Amunah, like, everything else flows into us.
Oh, right.
Because of our neshama.
Because our neshamas are connected, and this is sort of the essence of my neshama is found in that neshama which carries the essence of all the neshama, and therefore by connecting to the Rebbe, I connect more to my essence. Let's go over briefly the terms on page 16. The number 19 reads Mumaylo Lamata. And number 20 is Mumato Lamaylo. What is the difference? Right. 19 is Mumaylo Lamata, from above to below, going in that direction. And number 20 is Mumato Lamaylo, going from below up. 21, Stulam da Sulusa. Sulam means the ladder.
Oh.
And Sulusa in Aramaic means prayer. Sulam is prayer. Number 22. It's an acronym, but it stands for Shviras HaKelim, the breaking of the vessel. Number 23 and 24. 23 is Dayin Tachtenim, the 7 lower ones, and the 3 higher ones. What is that talking about? Right. The 7 lower spheres, which are the emotional attributes, and the 3 higher ones are Chokhmah, Bina, and Das. Number 25 is just really translating in English, from Hebrew. Hamisha Shemes Nikru La. She has 5 names. Who's the she? Right. So sometimes you see it as an acronym. That's why I put it down. Nun Reish Nun is Naran, and Ches Yud is Chai Yechida. One of the explanations, by the way, why we find that the Alter Rebbe was born on Chai Elul, the Baal Shem Tov was born on Chai Elul. The Baal Shem Tov began to study Chassidus on Chai Elul. The Baal Shem Tov began to publicize Chassidus on Chai Elul. Why did all these happen on Chai? And also the teachers of Baal Shem Tov, who happened to be none other than Achi Ashiloni, the Baal Shem Tov called him the Baal Chai, the master of Chai. Why? Chai stands for Chaya and Yechida. But this is homemade. But in today's world, many Jews, how do they identify that they're Jewish? I have a Chai. They have a chain that says Chai on it. Hey, forget about Shabbos, Kashrus, everything else, but I got a Chai. And they're really proud of it. It's just funny that became the identity of being a Jew. But it could be that it's not so funny. It could be something much deeper there. Every year has the Chaya and the Yechida. And that part is always intact, and that's the part that is always pure and always remains. Yeah.
So maybe I'm here with every level.
At every level, right? But the other level could be sort of damaged, hurt, affected by what I do. The Chaya and Yechida, the Chaya hardly, and the Yechida totally cannot be affected. 26 is Keser, we don't have to explain that. 27 is something which we learned in this chapter, something new. Da Itara Allah. Da means this is in Aramaic, Tara means the door or the gate. La'ala, to go up. So it's the gate to go up and the gate to go down. 28 and 29. Eretz Shalamata and Eretz Shalamayla. What does that mean? There's Eretz down here and there's an Eretz up there. What's the Eretz down here? Earth. What's the Eretz up there? That's Shemayim, Eretz. Which sphere is Eretz up there? Malchus. Okay. Please don't get confused. You have to set the GPS. Right.
I need to know where to go.
Right. Okay, we're ready. Oh, we didn't do the questions. Sorry, we're not ready.
So when is this Eretz from Myla is always talking about Mal? Or no, or
Yeah, generally speaking, Eretz would be Malchus. If it says Shemayim and Eretz, usually it's Zah, the emotional, and Eretz is Malchus. Okay, let's do page 22. What does the ladder in Yaakov's dream represent? We just said it. It represents the Indian of davening. Why does the ladder have 4 rungs? Right. Why is the davening divided into 4 parts? Right, because if the davening is about ascending through 4 worlds, so the davening has 4 parts. What is the objective, the way to explain in this mimer that we want to accomplish in davening? Right, great. What is the gateway through which neshama comes down and goes up? Which sphere? Which? Here we go. We have a competition between Chokmah and Malchus. Malchus rules this time. It's the Malchus. What is unique about Eretz Yisrael? Has Chokmah shining in it. So it's a little bit confusing here, but right now, let's focus on Eretz is Malchus. I don't know why I put these questions there. These questions are really connected to. No, it is connected to this. Like, what is the significance that the ladder is standing on the land, on Eretz? So I didn't explain it as we were learning it. Significance is that the ladder is how you go up and how you go down. That's what Yaakov saw in his dream. Remember, angels going up and angels going down. So it stands on the Eretz, meaning the Eretz, Spheres HaMalchus, that is the door and the gateway through which we can go up and through which things from up there can come down. What would you say is the main point of this ois? To make it simple so you can get the flow of the mimer. So the answer is, the first ois is the one that explains to us and presents to us that there's a neshama up there and a neshama down there, and we try to make that connection. This ois, to put it in one word, is that this is what davening is all about, to make the connection between the 2 parts of the neshama. The third ois is going to explain more specifically how do we make that connection in davening. What is the specific approach that we need in order to make that connection? That will go into Yirtz Hashem. Let's see. This is Nefesh. Now we're up to Ruach. I don't think I'll be able to. Thank God we're on fire also. Yes. Okay, a good Shabbos, everybody. Enjoy the special Shabbos in Shabbos. Yes.
Shabbos